you. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome, new people. We started a new thing 2 weeks ago with flashcards, and I guess everybody was hypnotized last week and had to go to Halloween parties and stuff because it was a small group, so hypnotized into thinking you have costumes or children or sweets together or whatever. So for this last week, our flashcard was everything I hear is hypnotism, and the week before it was everything I see is hypnotism, and so many people didn't get to share last week, or you can share on either one that you feel like you had an interesting experience with. For the new people, this is really in the mode of dehypnotizing. In the book here, in what appears to be, we talk about hypnosis a lot, and we talk about, the fact, in the chapter on what is, the statement is made is that all there is consciousness, and that consciousness is the substance of everything that we see as form, and that consciousness is the only reality, and consciousness is spirit. And we also talked earlier about the difference between material and mental and spiritual consciousness, and about matter. And even if you go to modern physics and talk to a physicist about the makeup of things, they'll tell you that it's 99.999% vacuum, space. Well, come on up. Even solid things are way mostly space. So even if in cabs, mostly space. All the evidence is that there's no matter, and that everything is spirit, that everything is God expressed as, and physics is coming more and more to reflect this truth. It's known for a long time that it's mostly they'd say space or vacuum. And yet we continue to believe that matter is real, and that matter can hurt us, and that germs are real, and germs can make us sick, and that money is real, and that we should pray for money, and that car doors can slam on our fingers, and that there's real matter, and that kids are real, and cats are real, and we continue to just absolutely, convinced, we're completely programmed to believe in the reality of matter. What human consciousness is all about. So that's where this all started, that everything I see as hypnotism is just a reminder that, if I'm seeing it, if I see you as a human being, as a person, as a body, I'm hypnotized. So we started there, and then last week we moved on to everything I hear is hypnotized. It's hypnotization, and that's just sort of a nice extension, because that really brings in all the questions about television and radios and movies and gossip and hearsay and all that stuff. All of that's lies too. Not only is there no reality to what I see, but all the stuff I hear is lies, is hypnosis. So this is a fun arena to work in. So that's what we're working on, and we're going to do a couple more of these before we finish up here. And we won't finish up. This is just a very first cut at trying to see how hypnotized we are. So let's share tonight. We'll share almost the whole hour. I'd love to hear about any successes or failures or laughs you had with either everything I see is hypnosis or everything I hear is hypnosis. who is having breakthroughs and who's having no progress and what's going on.
I had just a really interesting week. I had just both the seeing and hearing just come up, and what I noticed was that I was being particularly irritated by everything. I've been abstaining from the news for a while. I write for a paper, and I don't read it. And but I mean, what was really happening is every time I heard something politically, and of course that's all in the consciousness right now, I would find myself getting extremely upset. And I hadn't had that kind of response in several years. And so what I saw was that the opportunity to deal with these things started happening, and I was having every opportunity to kind of use this, everything is hypnosis. And both the things I was hearing that were, well, anything having to do with what's happening in the world. And I just kept repeating it to myself, writing it on cards, saying it out loud. And I was still having a tough time with a real strong response to this. And also just cracking up because the universe was just right there helping me with this lesson. I also had...
Can I just say one thing? Have you noticed when you think about the advertisements, are you aware of how the PR media corporations are aware of this fact and how they try to hypnotize you? How they're all just so primed with really loaded words and they're not the least bit interested in talking about truth and believable. What they want to be is dramatic and catch your attention and use all the negative loaded words against the other guy they can.
And the other thing is that it's like 1984, that the words that are being used are absolutely opposite to what is actually meant, which is also interesting. We're having our house remodeled, and kind of a funny thing was that right after, you know that we're having that done too, it has to be with Shardy, and right after we got the price, we're thinking, how are we going to come up with the money? I got a phone call from a banker who had loaned us money 3 years before saying, are you interested in a loan? Didn't do any work. And we had a check written out and waiting to pay, and it disappeared right when I wanted to give it to Dennis. And there was another, it was like hypnosis. The money appeared out of nowhere. It came from, it was like the check, the money never existed. It was a piece of paper that said an amount of money that we had to do no work to find. And then suddenly it was gone. And it just was hilarious. This lesson was just right there, over and over and over and over all week. So what I'm finding is whenever I'm in a class, whatever we're talking about, comes in spades for me. And also the ability not to have to react with insanity over something like that. I just went, oh, and did, the footwork to get some things done, but knowing all the time that this is just complete nonsense. And I called Lee just to say thank you. I would have spent so much agony in trying to fix this and make it better. I had to do some footwork, but
none of it exists.
It doesn't. And so there is no use to get upset about it because it's all really funny.
Everybody's going to go to the polls tomorrow to decide which white poodle to elect, which white poodle that doesn't exist. They're all hypnotized to see this collection of white poodles out there, white poodles and black poodles and brown poodles and gray poodles, and they're all going out there trying to decide which poodle they want to run their country or city or...
Are you voting for president of the United States?
I did want to just close with the fact that I found it kind of interesting, and I was surprised at how violently I was responding to something knowing this. And not having been responding like that for quite a while, and I was kind of curious as to why I was having this big, huge response.
I don't know.
More work to do, I suppose.
I find it funny because national politics aren't even a part of my consciousness, so I don't even know that. But then other politics are, so it's strange.
Yeah, the fact is that when we're willing to do the work, I cause and effect are part of the hypnosis, of course. But it certainly appears that when we're ready to do the work, that it starts coming up in spades and presents itself to us. But it may be the fact that it's coming up in spades and it's about to come up in spades and present it to us that makes us willing to do the work. I don't know which way that works, but it certainly appears to be true that when we reach certain points on our path of our spiritual growth, that it's time to address the next problem. The way the spiritual gymnasium works is that we're always presented with the next piece of apparatus, the next spiritual problem that we need to resolve, and we're always given what we need to do that work. But of course, we have to do the work. I mean, you go to the gym, and here's the next piece of equipment, and here's the trainer to show you how to use the equipment, and you have enough muscle to use it, but not easily often. And so the packages seem to happen, that just means it's time to work on it. That's all it really means, and there's nothing about cause and effect. The fact is that clearly it's what you're supposed to be working on right now, so you're in sync with us. It happens in the script classes. We start script in January, script comes up in December. We start kid in January, kid comes up in December, I can already feel Dulcie's got this wonderful retreat coming up between Christmas and New Year's. The announcements, by the way, are over on the table. And I can already feel that one starting. That class, that workshop, or silent retreat has already started. It's coming up already. I've just been very aware of it all week. So I'm looking forward to, she'll be here next weekend. I'm looking forward to hearing what's going on with her. Yes, Greg.
That's some interesting stuff happening. From that first class that I came to, talking about people doing the best they can, I had this overwhelming feeling of good, just feeling really, really happy about that, what we talked about. And then that lasted about 12 hours where I felt really, really good, and I started thinking about the homework.
Cool.
And in that period of time, there was a couple of moments where I was doing stuff, and I usually drive around with the radio on or whatever, and there was a couple 5 or 10 minute periods of total silence for me, just in a strange way, kind of like tonight, it got quiet in here for a second, and then I was driving, and then cars were going by, and it kind of was like an acid trip. It's like all the noise just came out of nowhere. It was like, blah, 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 blah. The same thing happened to me tonight when I came to class. I got here kind of early, and I sat, I was listening, and then Eddie got quiet, and then I started to get kind of quiet, and then all of a sudden, everything in the class got really loud. Everyone was talking, but it was all nonsense. It was just, blah, 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 blah. Totally. And then I got real quiet for a second, and then it kind of faded in and out. But it's what Shona said last week, it went from feeling really good to kind of feeling depressed about that, oh, it's all bullshit, basically. Everything's bullshit. That's how I felt. And then and then I went into boredom. If this is all bullshit, I don't really feel depressed. But what the fuck am I doing here? Why, if I can't partake in some sort of spiritual activity right now, and I have to do this thing called work and called my family and my kids and stuff, I had this feeling of boredom for 3 or 4 days where I was just it's kind of weird, kind of bleak. Interesting, all the same.
Yeah, all in one flashcard. Maybe here this week's. Who else?
this morning I got went up to my car and I had a fix-it ticket for expired tags, and I know that I can't, they won't smog my car until I get something fixed that makes the dashboard light go off. And I'm heading out of town, and I right away went into script about how this means I'm stupid and I've screwed up something important, you know. And I was really maybe I was gonna, you know, I was okay, what script is this? And then I just thought, well, what I hear myself telling myself is an image in mind. And I've been doing that a lot during the week with the thoughts that the things that I tell myself, you know, well, it's an image in mind. And I thought that, and it struck me interesting, and it took the steam right out of it. And it you know, the thing that I thought I'd screwed up that was so important, you know, it just, oh well, you know, I mean, it just had no meaning anymore, you know, no whatever to it, you know, reality. It was fun. It seems like most people for me have popped up with my own thoughts more than anything else, you know, because I so much of, you know, so much is even like kind of apparent to me as hypnotism anyhow, like advertising, like you were saying. You know, it seems, you know, on some level, some of that stuff seems pretty obvious, and you know, sometimes I take what I say to myself seriously, and you know, I never really like the results, but sometimes I do that, and this, you know, that was really cool.
You're just slightly ahead of us. You'll find out when we get to this last card why we were slightly ahead of us.
Well, thanks.
You get it that the advertisement is not only that the advertisement is a lot of lies, but that what they're promoting, the pill is hypnosis, and the disease, the problem they're promoting it to fix is hypnosis, and the body that thinks it has that problem is hypnosis. And you see how deep it really goes? I mean, it's all hypnosis.
Well, it's really funny that you bring that up because I'm going deaf in this ear that doesn't exist, and so I have all these issues with this ear, and so I have to take this pill and this nasal spray and go to the doctor and da 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 da. And there's times when it doesn't, when I don't have that issue, and the hearing issue, because I'm really in touch with whatever's being said isn't really important, but I have to listen or I'm going to get yelled at for not listening. And that was supposed to be a joke, but it's really true because I'm consistently told you're not listening to me. And so being in that hypnosis of what they're saying, Michael was saying that you really need to get quiet with yourself, you know, and Robert says that the more you do the work, the more you just want to be by yourself in one of his things. And I've found that, you know, the more I do meditation, the more I just want to be in my house meditating or just be one with God and allow things to happen. But when he was saying that, I was going, well, that's not even true. And I wasn't saying that's not true as a spiritual truth. I was just saying that's not true because I'm hearing it. Mm-hmm. And then you guys we had that little conversation. Greg asked me, well, you know, how's it going? And I was like, it's funny that you asked me that. And so I don't watch the advertisements and I don't vote and I don't go through all that stuff. But I'm clear on the fact that my hearing, because I sing and I got to be able to hear these certain frequencies to sing, and I can't. So, you know, it's like I can allow that to rob my joy of what my kid likes to do is sing. So then I got this whole thing going on, this whole circle of well, it's all hypnosis, but it steals my joy.
Because you believe it.
Right. But then it'd be like, you know.
Because you're hypnotized.
Right. So like if I was playing the piano, and I love playing piano, and my hands got chopped off, you know, it'd be the false belief that I have hands. And I get that. But still my joy of playing piano would be gone. So it's just interesting to hear what people are saying about that little pill in the advertisement, and that it's going to fix something that I don't have, but the teaching is I'm hearing, and I have a hearing issue, which doesn't exist, so it really kind of counts as everything.
I love those commercials. The purple pill. I think they're funny. I just had to say that. It'll give you the heart, but it'll also give you a third. They say at the end, this will give you, bleeding and,
Diarrhea.
Yeah, the minor side effects.
Well, yeah, I do have a question about what Sean's saying. It's like, it doesn't matter if we go and vote anyways. So if you feel like voting, go and vote, right? And it's like, none of it matters anyways. So why not do what you feel like doing anyways?
Why not?
If you're still practicing your
I don't vote. I've never voted ever in my whole life.
I'm just saying, so it sings. So you like to sing. Or, go
Right.
to the doctor,
Right.
whatever. So if it's all hypnosis, then what does it really matter? Like if this is even hypnosis right now.
Right.
I'm sitting in this room talking.
Exactly.
And, what does it matter if I do go vote tomorrow? Or
It doesn't matter at all.
Does it, right?
It doesn't matter at all.
And one thing that I found...
It would matter if you thought it was important. Because that would, along with that would come the attachment and all the causes of suffering. Nobody cares what you do. We're just doing time in the stream, but why suffer? So if you were to get bent out of shape about how the election comes out tomorrow, if you do think it's important, then you've got a 50-50 chance of suffering tomorrow evening. And if you win on that bet, then you get to suffer a week later when you discover it was a fantasy script. I think this company is going to make a lot of money. Who else?
I have a question
Sure.
about I love listening to music and I had a dilemma about a joy that bubbles up from listening to music or seeing art that just makes you feel like that feeling. And if it's all an illusion, where does that joy come from? Is it joy from illusion, or is it God coming through the illusion?
Joy, if you're using it correctly, joy that bubbles up, and you use the word bubbling up, is a God connection. That's spiritual consciousness. That's real.
So is it an illusion that helps us to see that? Or?
Often, you may be seeing something that bears a close relationship to the harmony that exists, or you may be seeing something that reminds you of the harmony that exists, or if you've had an ecstatic moment, you may see something that triggers reminiscence of the ecstatic moment, or you may see something that triggers the ecstatic moment itself. All these things can happen, or nothing at all. Sometimes I just find joy bubbling up, and there's absolutely no reason except that it's just, in this moment it's perfect, and joy starts bubbling. Usually it means my mind is stopped. Invariably it means my mind is stopped in the moment. You can see a sunset that can be so breathtaking it'll stop your mind. And here comes the joy, okay? Yeah, that happens. And nobody's saying don't enjoy this stuff. Don't enjoy the hypnosis. We're hypnotized. As long as you're wearing a body, you're going to be hypnotized. Everything you see, all the input through your five senses is hypnosis, okay? It's the material sense of it. So, and be aware of it, though. And to the extent that it's harmonious, it is probably a more accurate reflection of what really is, of the spiritual reality that we have these concepts about. And to the extent that it's not harmonious, it's clearly not a good reflection of what really is. To the extent that it's not harmonious, it is a reflection of what That's easy for me to say, what humanity believes, okay, it's a reflection. Disharmony is a reflection of human consciousness. Disharmony is a reflection of the belief in good and evil and multiple powers and the fact that we're all going to die and go to hell. And harmony is probably a reflection of an indication that you're getting somewhat aligned with spiritual consciousness, and that's beginning that picture in your life. But nonetheless, the picture is going to be hypnosis. Health is just as much a hypnosis as sickness or disease. But
Feels better.
yes, it does. Yes, it does. No question about that. And health is more a reflection of eternal harmony than disease is. And so it probably is an indication that you're closer aligned to, that you're transcendental consciousness is broad, that you're more aligned with KGOD instead of KFUC.
So what you're saying is the joy that you feel and that feeling of harmony when you're listening to music or you're watching that sunset, is that's the reality, and the sunset's irrelevant. Is that, the music's irrelevant. It's that, that feeling, that like the zone that you get into when you're tamed.
Yes, the joy.
The rest of it is the material.
That's a result of a higher consciousness. Joy is a sure indication of a higher consciousness. You can't be in human consciousness and experience joy. Or compassion. Now you can feel pity in human consciousness, but you can't feel compassion. And you can feel happiness in human consciousness, happy for this, and therefore sad when it disappears, but you won't feel joy. See, those are spontaneous indications of a higher consciousness, that you are becoming more spiritual, so to speak, where you are becoming more aware of your spirituality is a more accurate way of saying it.
So you've let go of the 3D world, and the absence of the 3D world in certain cases will be joy.
Absolutely, yeah. Bhagwan Rashneesh always used to say, happiness is the default, and he meant joy. If you are not doing anything to prevent joy, it will be bubbling up in you. If you can just stop thinking, here comes the joy.
That's so fascinating because I've been feeling pretty joyful lately, and I've been feeling script-free.
Yes.
And I've been talking a lot about this at meetings and stuff about serenity, and it's such an interesting new concept for me to feel what serenity is, and I've been talking a lot about it, and that's the same thing as joy. And it's being script-free. That's really, for me, that's what the definition is. I find myself going whole days without even touching on any sort of script, and I love what I do at work. I love what I do outside of work. Things have been, and I mean, invariably when I say that to people, they're like, oh, just wait. I'm like, that's human consciousness. So just wait for what? Fuck you.
Just wait eternally.
Let's wait for more joy.
Script is the cause of all misery, which is to say, having a false belief is the cause of all misery. Which is to say, if you stop holding false beliefs, there's nothing left but joy. Joy is the default. We don't have to do anything. We just have to stop doing stuff. We have to stop believing all these lies, all this hypnosis. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had some interesting experiences around this. Let's see. One thing that I did notice is that I had some things. Usually I come to the meditation here at least once a week, if not more. Plus we have the Sunday class, which is ending. And I was out of town this weekend, and I didn't make the meditation. So I haven't been here since Monday. And I noticed just even that, not having that, even though I meditate on my own, getting lifted with a group of people, I could feel almost like, what I feel when I've experienced it before, when I get away from, hanging out with higher consciousness or meditating more, like this fog, I guess hypnotism kind of come over, and I was really aware of that feeling of like just lower energy and just feeling, just like a little bit of a fog over me. And so I was aware of that kind of, identifying that as hypnotism, and having maybe a little bit harder time getting out of it or recognizing it because I just wasn't, as lifted, I guess, or was aware.
So a couple of examples. One thing that I noticed a lot was my own, I think somebody else mentioned about their own thoughts, how things would run through my mind, a couple of script events which I identified as, hypnosis. I mean, to me, it seemed like the same thing. If you're in script or an old belief,
Yes, indeed.
it was hypnosis. So I caught that a lot because I had different things come through my mind and kind of observed that. And just a couple of examples of a couple of situations that got presented last week. It was a pretty difficult week in different situations where I just got to see how clearly just these things coming at me, from different directions. And I think I have an easier time with everything I see is hypnotism because visually as soon as I would see something, so I had to be really aware about the hearing part.
Yeah.
Everything I hear, it's kind of snuck up on me a little bit more. One interesting kind of coincidence, and this is how things would work, is we went out to Palm Desert this weekend, and when we got there, Dennis pulled out these tapes that he had found, and he said, "Do you know who this is? These tapes are addressed to you, and it says Tony Tinchell on them." And I had got these tapes after the last thing, and I couldn't find them. I never listened to them, and so I was very happy to have that this weekend, and I was listening to them, and the whole first set of tapes was about hypnotism and carnal mind, and it just was perfect. And it talked about everything that we've been talking about here, so that was kind of an interesting coincidence, and it helped kind of just listening to those over and over helped really get me back on track. So.
Yeah.
Listening to what?
The tapes.
Just kidding.
Tony's version of hypnosis. Tony's version of hypnosis. Tony's pretty clear.
Yeah, it was really, it was very clear. It helped me kind of keep track.
That's why I mentioned that he was in town and we go over there to hear him because he's pretty clear.
Well, what she was saying about, because you're in a relationship, and so, even at work, when I'm listening to someone, and then I'm like, well, this is just hypnosis, the issue I have is, now I don't even give a shit what they're saying. And then now, it's not important. Then they get mad at me, and I had that happen today. Was a guy got mad at me, like they want me to go out and buy this notebook for myself for like $1,800, and I don't even want one. I just took someone else's computer. I said, yours is better than mine. I'm taking it and get the crappy one, and we're gonna save money. So, but having that discussion was kind of, they were upset on the other end, and so I was attempting to do attempting means I wasn't doing it, this hypnosis thing, but then I started stressing because I'm at work, and it's kind of like when you're in a relationship, like you're just in any relationship. So that always brings me to the question of, if it's not important and it doesn't matter and it's hypnotism, then how do we communicate?
If it's not important and it's hypnotism, it won't matter whether you communicate.
Yeah, but I bet you the married people here are going,
Well, I expect they can worry about that. No, I mean, if you're at work and you need one, and you believe the hypnosis that you need to keep the job, then you'd better learn the line of double talk. Yeah, we can't impose our lofty spiritual truths on these mere people with their feet in the mud who hire us and pay our salaries, pay for all this shit. I mean, the fact is that, we have to do some double talk. But I do always tell people, find a job that takes that meets your needs while taking the least of your time and energy so that it frees you up as much as possible for this work. Yeah.
On that note, I had something actually interesting happen. I don't watch very much. I try to minimize my amount of news and all that stuff. And my wife is taking a class right now on the Artist's Way, and she wants to take the family on a cruise. So I said, let's start looking and see if we can do that. She goes, as I was doing these cruise things, I thought to myself, I've never heard of a cruise ship being taken over by pirates. And she watched the news within the next couple of days, and lo and behold, a cruise ship had been taken over by pirates. And she was so astounded and amazed, and I was like, yeah, consciousness is powerful. And it was like one of those things where she said it, and I was just going, yeah, right on. If you're going to do that, that's what's going to happen.
Hypnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like I had kind of a revelation with the exercise and experience I had, and it was through some tapes that I listened to, and I became just very aware of the power of the word as it relates to a collective consciousness of human beings and how information is passed on to human beings through the word. And a lot of times misinformation is passed on to keep us hypnotized and to keep us, in the dream, to keep the dream alive. And what helped me really understand that analogy was equating it to like a computer getting a virus, and how, if we're given misinformation, it's like a virus being passed on. And it can be passed on through humans in the form of gossip, in the form of misinformation, in the form of things we believe is our truth, which are mistruths, and not in alignment with the truth. So it just seemed like a really profound awareness to me of how this has been going on for so long, and how powerful the word is. And that's, what we hear, is what we disseminate as truth sometimes. And I think the discernment is like our antivirus. You need to have the discernment to know what is truth, what is not truth, what to let in, what not to let in.
And you need to always have that discernment.
But wouldn't that discernment...
Because if you don't have the discernment in this moment, you're available to the virus in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly the way it works, is that it's the belief that is self-sustaining. And whether it's articulated or not, and of course it needs to be articulated to keep going, but the fact is that the fact that we're believing it, I believe it and I radiate it, and you pick it up and as a result, and believe it and radiate it. And she picks it up and believes it and radiates it. And I pick it up and believe it and radiate it. If we were the only three people in the world, we could keep this belief going forever just by not stopping. But if there was ever an instant in which none of the three of us believed it, it would be gone eternally. Because it's just the belief being believed that sustains the belief. There's nothing to it except that Joanne does this. There's nothing under here. Yeah, there's nothing sustaining the belief except the belief. It is a self-sustaining belief, we all have this broadcaster and this receiver, and we pick it up and buy it and believe it and send it on.
How do you discern something you hear that's hypnosis?
Well, we made that really easy by saying that everything I hear is hypnosis.
Exactly.
I have a question. And you were saying that sounded fairly black and white to me of when you're in harmony, it's God consciousness, and when it's not harmony, it's human consciousness. Did I hear that right?
Close. I said usually that's true.
So the scenario that you've been radiating these beliefs, and let's just call them script, you've been radiating them for a while, as we all have radiated our scripts for a long while, until we get aware of them. And then, as we know in the script class, you try to tear them up, but they don't, rarely do they just disappear all at once, the paper. So, we tear them up little by little, but you've been radiating this for so long, and the people who you have in your life sustain it because that's what's been going on, or they believed it or whatever, and so you start tearing it up. There's still disharmony there, even though hopefully you're headed in the right direction of tearing it up. The harmony may not come right away is what I'm asking.
your experience is the reflection of the content of your consciousness. Okay? So if you're seeing disharmony, that means that disharmony is still in you.
Which is
Whatever happened about
your belief in the
the,
script, right?
whatever happened about the karmic dance though, when you've gotten partners in karmically dancing with you and that kind of thing?
If I don't have the script, there can't be a karmic dance.
And I understand that, however, when you're in the process and the script is not 100% gone, but you are trying to tear it up, and you don't have any say over the karmic dance that's going on, that has gone on, and what they're doing with their script and tearing it up that allows you all to dance together.
It doesn't matter what they do, is what I'm saying.
But the harmony may not come for a while until I'm 100% clean, is that what you're saying?
Every step of Christ. What I'm saying is he's irrelevant.
But I may not enjoy that harmony you're talking about and that bubbling up of joy until I'm absolutely 100% clean of that script. Is that right?
As you progress, you will have more harmony. As you clear more dust off the mirror, it will reflect harmony more accurately. But if your concept of harmony, if you have a concept of harmony that includes as part of it how he's going to behave, then you're still harboring a false belief.
I mean, if it does that?
What I'm saying is,
However it's behaving, it's disharmony?
it's not, unless you're labeling it disharmony. See, I can be here in perfect harmony. I can be here in perfect harmony with my partner sitting in front of my face, suicidal. And I can be in perfect harmony. Because I understand that my partner is learning their next spiritual lesson and that everything's unfolding as it should and that they need to do this work and that if they postpone this work now or I rescue them, they'll just have to do it next time. And I can see nothing disharmonious about the fact that they're feeling suicidal or in a deep depression right now. That's what they need to do right now to grow spiritually. If I am always aware of the fact that everybody is always on their optimal path for their own spiritual development, then I see nothing but harmony, including Ramana Maharshi seeing nothing but harmony in spite of the fact that his body was cancer-ridden.
So harmony isn't just a look of happy. That's not the kind of harmony we're talking about.
I'm talking about harmony. I'm talking about sitting in bliss. I'm talking about not having any ripples on my pond. I'm talking about my mirror being dust-free. And it has nothing to do with your dance. I don't need you to be experiencing harmony for me to experience harmony. It's all in how I look at it. And that's why I say that when I get script-free, the karmic dance is over. Now, the chances are he's dancing twice as hard trying to reestablish the karmic dance, because if you've got an established relationship going on and one person pulls out, the other one almost invariably doubles their efforts to reestablish it because they're comfortable there. But the fact that he's dancing twice as hard has no effect on me if I'm script-free. But it probably brings up is a lot of compassion, which does not disturb, compassion does not disturb my harmony. Okay? So it's all, thank God, my own work.
I've been I listened to a lot of Robert lately and going back to that self-inquiry. And really it's interesting is that, I had some experiences last week that, the thoughts that we have in our mind are what it kind of creates our reality.
Kind of.
All of it.
Or totally.
And it's like, I've been doing that for a couple hours a day, just like on the way to work and on the way home. And it's like all of a sudden, like there was a point last week where I've never experienced joy unless it was tied to my ego, which really wasn't joy. It was competition. And I was telling Chris,
Yeah,
it's like,
there's between adrenaline and joy.
exactly.
It's subtle.
This is the first time I've ever experienced joy, and nothing's changed. Because every time, I was telling her, every time I experienced that I thought I experienced joy before, it was really my ego accomplishing something. And it was the strangest feeling. It was just the strangest feeling in the sense that, so I've just been doing that self-inquiry, and it's really weird. It's like the who we are is such, it's almost like it was like a dice, why we're in this job, why we're doing anything. It's just the funniest thing.
Yeah, so you don't need to get a better job, you don't need a better job, you don't need a better home, you don't need a better wife, you need to wake up. Like the guy in the ocean with the sharks and the no rowboats and no paddles, and he doesn't need all that shark repellent and motorboats and rescues and stuff. He needs to wake up.
It's funny.
And is it ego? I mean, or maybe it's really the same thing. For me, it was the resistance behaviors. I always wondered why, when they were successful, the resistance behaviors, why I didn't feel joy, why I wasn't happy, and I always thought I wasn't capable of feeling any joy. And it was the absence of the resistance behaviors that caused the joy. But I spent a lot of time and a lot of effort pursuing all those resistance behaviors so that people would notice me and think that I was.
Sure. And of course that doesn't bring joy.
So the best thing we can really do is quiet the mind. Just quiet the mind.
Let the mind get quiet.
Yeah.
You can't even quiet your mind.
Yeah.
So how shall I silence my mind with my mind? And you think about that. What was the other tool you had in mind to use? You know, what you can do is withdraw energy from all these things. And now you understand maybe a little bit more clearly why we did those lists of all the things we love: hate, fear, desire, hope, and especially guilt and shame and remorse. And, those are all things which we are sustaining with our energy. We're giving our blood to them to sustain them. And those are the thoughts that we're keeping around. You know, the fact that I'm attached to something is sustaining that thought. The something I'm attached to is hypnosis, okay? And my attachment is what's sustaining it. So that's why I said that those lists all have to get empty before you're free, because you're free when you stop thinking. And as long as there's something on those lists that you're sustaining, you're not going to stop thinking, because you're going to worry about having it or not having it, or getting rid of it or getting more of it, or avoiding it, or attracting it. Yeah. So that's, you know, there's no trophies for being desireless, except the ultimate trophy, which is you get to stop thinking about it if you don't give a shit. You know, I mean, Janis Joplin was right. Freedom's just another word for nothing else to lose. You know, I mean, true freedom is not giving a shit about anything in the hypnosis. And you see, when you really realize that it's hypnosis, you don't give a shit. I mean, that's my feeling. I'm saying don't give a shit because that's my feeling, you know. So much of it, I just don't give a shit about.
Let's drop all concern, right? You dropped it.
That's right. That's drop all concern. Barbara's much more precise with her words. But she means I don't give a shit. You know.
That's probably why people that have had close to death experiences feel so free, because now they almost lost everything, and now they.
Yeah.
I think that's why I anesthetized myself so much, because it got me to that state of I don't give a shit.
That's right. Bingo.
I never cared about anything.
That's what Three Fingers of Scotch did for me. Allowed me to not give a shit.
Exactly.
And if it worked for them like it worked for us, they'd all be alcoholics. I mean, the genetic difference is that this shit works for me. That's the only difference. Yeah, it works for me. Or food, or whatever your particular anesthetic is. But, you know, we wouldn't be out there. I mean, nobody would get overeat if it didn't work, or drink if it didn't work, or use drugs if it didn't work. I mean, heroin addicts are not doing this because it doesn't work.
So say a little more about how that comes out in application, because it's not that you say to your 5-year-old, I don't give a shit, or your wife or your coworkers or whatever. It's that you say, I'm not concerned or believing that there's some problem here based on what I'm seeing or hearing, and I'm not going to be in this reactive state of trying to assess it and fix it and be perfect about it.
It's withdrawing your energy.
Withdrawing your energy. But that doesn't mean that you don't show up or have love and compassion or dialogue or whatever. But there's some mental surrender or some
Spiritual.
It's recognizing that it's hypnosis. It's recognizing that it's hypnosis.
And then my behavior comes after that.
It's not there. It's not happening. It's a dream. If you're in a dream, if you're having a dream tonight, okay, and let's say something really nice happens and something really shitty happens, and all the time you're in the dream looking at all this stuff, you're aware that you're in a dream. Okay? Suppose you're conscious of the fact that you're in that dream and you watch this really shitty thing happen. It doesn't matter. I remember being in a dream, and I'm over somewhere on Aviation Avenue, as a matter of fact, and I've got my motorcycle, my sidecar motorcycle, and it breaks down, and I start pushing it home, and it's heavier than hell, and I'm pushing and pushing and pushing, and it suddenly occurs to me, hey man, this is just a dream. And I burst into laughter and woke up. Okay? Instead of, I could have pushed that 4 more miles in the dream. But I suddenly got, this is just a dream. I don't know what it was. Something must have been wrong in the dream. But I suddenly realized it's just a dream. And so I laughed and quit pushing the motorcycle and woke up. But I could have pushed the motorcycle home, knowing that it was a dream, because it wouldn't take any energy. And it would, the fact is that if you're aware that it's hypnosis, you lose your investment in it. Nobody's invested in the hypnosis. Like the road in the desert with the water on it. Okay? You see in the water, and you know it's a mirage. And so you just keep driving, There's no concern. You don't care you don't spend your time wondering whether that water's hot or cold. It's just hypnosis. It doesn't matter. And so it's in recognizing the hypnosis, dehypnotizing yourself that
you don't call 8 people and talk to them about it.
That's not required.
You don't go to therapy over it.
Or call a pump truck or road sweepers to sweep it off or something. No, you just
write it out.
Just say, no, it's hypnosis. Nonsense. And it's true about everything I hear.
But what about love?
Everything I see.
Hypnosis.
Love goes with
Hypnosis. Love and hate.
love goes with joy. Or
If I'm expressing love, then it's probably transcendental consciousness. Well, it's spiritual adult. If I'm expressing love. If I'm seeing love or seeking love or seeing somebody loving me, I'm hypnotized.
well, I met Byron Katie, and when I looked at her, it seemed to me in that moment that there was love there.
Yes, there certainly was. I felt it too. You could slice it and spread it on the thread. Yeah, that's what transcendental consciousness. That's how you know she's real. That's how you know she's real. I took one look at her and saw that, and just felt the love.
Yeah.
And she's real. And Robert had it, and Bhagwan had it, and several others I've been with.
Keating?
Yeah, Keating. I didn't feel the love with him. I certainly felt the transcendence, but I wasn't close to him. I just felt him in the room. That's... See, so he's a clear conduit. See, there's no Byron Katie there. Talking about getting out of the way. We're talking about stopping thinking, so we can feel a little joy. Well, there's nobody there to stop thinking. she really got blown out completely. She's like Robert. There's no ego, no trace of an ego there at all. And so it's just an open pipe. And how much love you feel when you're around her is a measure of your receptivity. And that's all. If you're feeling it, cool. Where are we? Anybody else want to share? Please. Hi, Maggie.
For me personally, I find this really hard because I go into those moments of self-hypnotism, who fucking cares? I mean, which is kind of an interesting contradiction for me. It's like, why do the work? Because everyone else is in hypnosis and I'm never going to get out of it. But I have moments. I took some fuck it all last Thursday, and it's amazing for that moment of I did not give a shit. It was the day of my company has a big telecast, and I was getting hammered left and right, and I just kind of was like, I'm sick and tired of trying to make everybody happy. And it's just interesting in those moments, I see how it can work, but it's weird how people get sucked back in.
Sure. Yeah.
And what's more interesting is it has less to do with my current process, but more seeing some growth I've made in the area. I mean, because a lot of you guys know, I'm studying pole dancing for about a year and a half, and I'm not teaching it. And until I started teaching it, which was only 3 weeks ago, I didn't realize how much of the hypnosis out there I had undone about what it means to do pole dancing. Because there's such bullshit hypnosis out there about what that means. You're a stripper, you're a slut, or a whore, and I've had all those words said to me. But it's interesting to have the woman come to my class and to see them not even be able to do some basic things that are so, I think, natural to a woman, because it comes out of their mouths what this hypnosis is. And so for me personally, it's just been interesting, just that one little snapshot of hypnosis on women that exists. It is really fascinating, especially now that I'm teaching it. But it also has made me really appreciate some of what I've been able to undo, because a year and a half ago, I was that person. I can't do this. I can't be a technology executive and do pole dancing. Ooh. And now, but what's interesting is I'm still in the hypnosis of nobody who works with me knows that's what I do. They don't know that I teach it. Because I'm fearful of what the hypnosis tells them that means. Then they can't take me seriously.
Yeah, that might be wise. Yeah.
That might be wise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not telling you. I double talk the ignorant.
Unless you're hypnotized on the fact that they think you're men.
People are hypnotized. People are hypnotized. And we're hypnotized by sex, and we're hypnotized by age, and we're hypnotized by race, and we're hypnotized by religion, and we're hypnotized by country, and we're hypnotized by state, and area, and city, and burg, and financial situation, and everything. I mean, it gets very specific. The mothers in Manhattan Beach are hypnotized different than the mothers in Hermosa Beach. Different things are important. Different things are life critical about how to raise their children in Manhattan Beach than they are in Hermosa Beach, for example. And which gym to go to, and whether to have the washboard stomach and stuff like this. There's a different specific hypnosis for all age groups, and the idea of the women's clock running out when they're 38 and don't have a kid, and the nervousness comes up,
The huge between couples that don't have kids and couples that do have kids.
Hypnosis. It's all hypnosis, and there's no reason for any of it. It's all lies. Joel had a lady who couldn't have children and asked him for a healing, and he casually gave her a healing, and she had 2 or 3 kids, and they discovered that the reason she couldn't have children was that she didn't have any fallopian tubes. And yet, under Joel's healing consciousness, she had babies. Now, you see it's hypnosis? Now, there's dehypnotization. Joel was not hypnotized, and, this was the one with no fallopian tubes, got pregnant by her husband, and had babies,
Was it hypnosis that she didn't have fallopian tubes, though?
Yeah.
Well, but the doctor certainly looked inside there and reported that she didn't.
That was his hypnosis.
All hypnosis.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, the fact is that medical science, upon examining her, still can't explain the fact that she had babies, you know. For them, it's virgin birth because she has no fallopian tubes, according to them, but it's all having them is hypnosis, not having them is hypnosis. That's my point. Is that, you know, the idea that you can't have babies after 42 is hypnosis. You know, if women can have babies without fallopian tubes, they can certainly have babies when they're 43 or 45. Or, Noah's wife had a baby at 70-something, I don't know. You know. Yeah, why would you want to?
He's like, come on, baby, let's go.
Well, Leah, I've seen you for about an hour a day for the past 6 years, more than my parents. And they talk about it in the movie, about the reoccurring people in our lives and our dream. And now I'm sitting in this room in the hypnotism, but it feels a lot better in this hypnotism. So is there like different levels of hypnotism, such as different levels of consciousness? Or?
Well, I mean, hypnotism is a reflection of human consciousness.
There's more harmony in here than a crack house.
Because there's higher consciousness.
So but it's still, the hypnotism is still.
It depends, you know, I mean.
Pretty hard.
It depends on what it depends on what you're calling hypnotism.
Okay.
You know. Okay, let's do one more thing. If I look at you and think you're that body, I'm hypnotized. I'm having a material thing, okay? Now, if I look at you and am an spiritual adult and I'm aware that what I'm seeing is God expressed as you, and don't buy the material image, but realize that God as a spiritual being is the life of you, let's say. And focus on the life of you and the consciousness of you and the being of you, okay? Now I'm looking at you and I'm seeing the same picture, but I'm having an entirely different experience about you, okay? And you will be uplifted by that, whereas if I'm just buying ordinary human consciousness and seeing you as a material body, then you will not be uplifted by that. These people are much more aware of spiritual reality and put much less stock in materialism. And so the consciousness in here is higher because we've been doing this work a while, and because we're working on it right now and are doing this week by week. So the consciousness is higher and it feels better. And we could inadvertently get healings by just sitting here in this crowd. We could get lifted out of our hypnosis and have a healing, you know. Don't come here because you're too sick. Don't not come here because you're sick. Come here because you're sick. If you're too sick to be here one night, that's the night to be here. You might as well get lifted right out of it, you know. Because we don't put nearly as much faith in flu as other people. So this is a better place to be than sitting home watching the news about bird flu and $9 billion. Does everyone know what a pandemic is? I mean, I used to know about epidemics, but now we got $9 billion to prevent pandemics of bird flu. I mean, that's hypnotism.
Yeah. We need Fukatal.
We gotta market that. We'll get Brady to draw up a better.
I've been wanting to ask you this about the hurricanes. When we had that one big hurricane and then all these follows, is that just the consciousness when it's set at the level and we
wonderful. I mean, we had the one serious hurricane and well, I mean, actually the
hurricane preparedness.
The tsunami that was so drastic a year or so ago, right? And every disaster we've had since the tsunami has been worse and worse now because that's in hypnotism. While Joel was in Hawaii, no hurricane ever struck Hawaii.
Even when it was on its way.
Yes. While Joel was in Hawaii, hurricanes didn't strike Hawaii. And at no other period in recorded weather have hurricanes not struck Hawaii on any year. He was there for 12, 14, 16 years and no hurricanes struck. because Joel is aware of the fact that there's no, I mean, there is weather. Weather might be a reflection of the way the universe really works, God's universe works, but there's no disharmonious weather. That's got to be a human construct. It's people's fear of hurricane that causes hurricanes. But we got all the way up to the W's this year.
Pass. We're on
Very cool. Is that a first?
No, then he's 26.
Yeah, see? I mean, and that's pure hypnosis.
Do you know what I mean about that?
You believe it more, and it's getting worse. And I just added to it. It's going to be worse this year. Because we believe it's going to be worse this year.
There was a lot of hurricanes this year, wasn't there?
Yeah. Yeah, we can start numbering hexadecimally pretty soon here. It's time. Let's, next week's flashcard is, as 3 or 4 of you have correctly predicted, everything I think is hypnosis. Adele got it. Adele got it.
3 days
Cynthia
ago.
got it. See, some of you are in more than in sync with this. I've been working on everything I think is hypnosis all week. And the flashcard, by the way, is on the website now. It's if you look under workshops and you click on the one for reaching for the moon, on the page that comes up there, it tells the times and the schedule and such like. It also has the flashcard, so if you want to check somebody or if you want to. You can go there, if you miss a class, you can go there to find out what the flashcard is, because tonight's flashcard will be up there tomorrow morning. So if you have to miss a class, you can check the next morning by just going to Reaching for the Moon under workshops, and you can see what the flashcard is. So let's get quiet for... And by the way, just to remind you, the reason we hypnotize the reason we meditate for 15 minutes at the start of class is to look at hypnosis, okay? The only reason that we get quiet and meditate together for 15 minutes is to combine our consciousness and lift our consciousness and lift ourselves above the hypnosis so that we can see clearly whatever we are able to see clearly. Without that meditation, we would not see nearly so clearly. So I just want to realize that that's the antivirus. The 15 minutes meditation is any hypnosis, good shot. Let's be quiet. Good work, everybody. No thinking this week. Not necessary. Okay, great. Love you all. Thanks for coming.